online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey, welcome everybody to AfterBuzz TV, the After Show Network. Here today we are recapping The League. They're in season 7.
Yeah.
My name is George Hermoza. With me, I'm with the fantastic and phenomenal Phil Svitek.
That's right. Welcome. George and I are fighting over the flex.
The flex. We always do.
That's right.
We'll get into why in a little bit, but today's episode, season 7, I'm still upset. Every week I'm still getting more and more upset at the fact that it's the final season of The League.
That's hashtag real talk right there.
Which means in 1 year's time, we won't be here recapping The League.
That is a damn shame.
I'm already thinking ahead. I got to start watching a new show.
We got to have a movie.
We should have a movie. They did it with Entourage. Hopefully it's a better movie than Entourage.
Fair enough, yeah.
Episode 6, The Beer Mile. Kind of like the Green Mile. Or Beer Fest.
More like Beer Fest.
Put them together, then you got The Beer Mile, the episode of The League. A lot of stuff happened, of course. Did you like this episode?
I loved it. I mean, I saw the Beer Mile as a title. I knew right away it would be funny. And, you know, I like the through line of Megan and Andre, and they obviously brought that back. And then they always pick their kind of curious running joke. This time they picked 2 with the poop and the Beer Mile. So a lot of good stuff there to laugh about.
I mean, obviously they're not afraid to go there, as last week's episode, obviously the word of the day was chode. You know, I guess, is it safe to say that the word of today is poop?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of started with Kevin being curious. And don't get me wrong, I've been curious about this too many times. I watch movies a lot, and I'm always like, when does the bad guy ever sleep or even go to the bathroom? They never even reference that. I want to see like reality on these movies, and they kind of reference it in this episode.
Yeah, just some guy that just has to go when you gotta go. I mean, Jurassic Park is like the ultimate movie of when you gotta go, you gotta go.
That's true, and obviously this episode of The League as well. But I mean, Kevin, no stranger to being curious. He always had these kind of. It doesn't surprise me. He kind of thought about it because typical Kevin, always curious about these things, and obviously. Typically, he's usually wrong by the end, which in this case, he obviously was wrong. I mean, has that thought ever crossed your mind as far as like, well, these guys are working out all day. These, I guess, day workers, you can call them, working on the field all day. Where do they go? They're not allowed in the house.
Yeah, that's a good question. And there was a lot of sub-questions of like, do they have to buy something? Because, you know, obviously when you go to like, let's say like a mini mart, you have to purchase something before, you know, customers only type thing. Yeah, so it's quite interesting, and yeah, it made for a great storyline. Senor Kevin,
I do
call
like
you
that.
Uncle. I don't even know Maria, you know, but it's funny because it worked both ways. Kevin assumed some things, and then you know, give an inch and they'll take a mile type thing.
I mean, his curiosity kind of increased when he stepped in it. Obviously, thinking it was at first. Obviously, your instinct is maybe it was an animal. But, you know, I think they had a pet, but I don't think they've referenced to the pet in a while. So maybe that, but...
I mean, to be fair, I've never really seen them take care of the kids. Or, for being parents, they don't really have to do parental things.
I don't even think they've ever really gave closure to whose poop was it in the garden. I think Pete was just kind of in an emergency situation. But I mean, did you find it that they imply that it's usually is Pete that does it?
It may be, or at the very least, it could have been Taco.
I mean, that
although Taco is very consistent with poop in the shower.
Not in this shower, but in Kevin's shower.
Yeah.
And I've never done that. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we've all peed in the shower.
Peeing in the shower is normal.
I mean, that's okay. It kind of blends with the water, you know. Before you know it, you blink and it's, you know, all gone, right? I mean, we've all done it, right? Anyone? Is it just me? And you?
Well, absolutely. Okay. There was a great South Park episode, by the way, about peeing in the shower. And then eventually there's, and how people pee everywhere. And eventually the pH balance of a water park was more P and no H.
Really? Is it true? And I was watching Grown Ups, and they have a chemical in the water. Is that true? Have you ever seen a movie?
I haven't peed. First off, I haven't been to a water park since I was a kid, let alone peed in a water park. But back in the day,
I think we've all agreed to. We've all done it in the beach.
Oh yeah,
I've done it in the beach.
Yeah,
peed, that is. I don't know where people are going, but yeah, I've peed in the beach, and obviously the beach is
easy to poop though in.
I've never done that. Have you?
I've never.
I'm afraid to ask.
No, but I love that. It was actually surprising to see Taco's embarrassment.
I thought the same thing because he's never been shy about anything.
Correct.
I thought that was kind of weird. Maybe like a development in character of Taco, it being the last season.
Yeah, I don't think so. But it was, I was totally talking about Pete too.
I've never seen his character do that.
Yeah.
I've never seen him like just back away from something. He's just straight up like, yeah, I do this. Oh yeah, I, got high in the beer mile. Like, I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, pooping in a shower and then pushing it down with a spatula is pretty weird enough. Do you do it with your foot? And then Roxanne, that was one of the jokes of the day. Was it chocolate chip pancake?
That was typical Roxanne, always kind of coming up with that one-liner. And then obviously you had Kevin questioning the gardener. I guess in kind of questioning him, he kind of slips at, hey, by the way, you can poop in my house. And obviously, what was the gardener's name? Ernesto. Taking it fully advantage, even coming on his days off.
Well, they weren't days off. He was working for the neighbors.
Oh, on the Saturday?
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Which, by the way, it actually is a good indicator of the fact that he wouldn't just poop outside, because he could have very much pooped at the neighbors. Mm-hmm. But he's like, no, I gotta.
The fact that it wasn't him pooping in the garden.
Correct.
So if he would have done it in Kevin's, he would have done it. Okay, yeah. Good call, Phil. That's why we call you Phenomenal Phil.
That's why Ernesto is wrongly accused.
Yeah, no, and I mean he ended up quitting. Obviously, Kevin's curiosity kind of got the best of him. But obviously, we'll kind of tie it into toward the end, because obviously, as typical League, all these storylines kind of end up meeting at the end.
To a degree,
yeah. But we had Pete running the beer mile. Now, have you ever heard of this? Because if so, where is it at? Because I want to do it.
I've heard of a pub crawl. I've heard of the Golden Mile, which is basically just another term for a pub crawl.
Now, what is a pub crawl?
What is a pub crawl?
See, I mean, last week was Chode. I really don't know. In this case, I had an idea what Chode was. This one, I have no idea what pub crawl is.
Pub crawl.
Yeah.
Pub crawl is when you go from a pub to a different pub. To a different
pub. I thought it was a pup.
No.
Okay, pub crawl.
You can play. I forget what the official term is, but it's basically like golf. You get in golf, you try to get less. I understand this, but it's a different point system, and depending on how you play, beer is 1 point, alcoholic beverage is 2, and then a shot is 3.
Okay.
And so if, again, right now, using those terms, you'd reverse it, and you'd want more points. Mm-hmm. And you go from bar to bar. And
how many, 18 bars? Kind of referencing that golf thing that you just mentioned?
Maybe half. I don't know if you can go full 18.
I mean, I think the most shots I've ever done in one time. I mean, and I'm a lightweight. Not a lightweight, but just I will pass out. I think it was 10.
I mean, here's the beer mile.
So I'd lose.
Can a beer mile be actually sanctioned?
See, that's what I was thinking too. And obviously, in this fantasy world, pun intended, of the league, I know Vegas is a place you can drink outdoors, but I guess even though they film in LA, they're based in Chicago. Is that a place that you can drink outdoors as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think beer you can, right? Because it's no different than, let's say, like a tailgate.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
However, to have a physical race with actual rules, and one of the rules is drinking. But I'm not gonna throw up the drink.
It doesn't sound that hard, because I can run a mile easily, 8-9 minutes. Pacing myself and just having, I guess maybe it depends on, so the rule was you run a mile, and for every quarter mile they chug a beer. but they were in red cups. So is it like a can of beer? Is it a 20-ounce beer? Is it like half a beer? Is it like a beer pong kind of beer?
When they got to it, there seemed a lot of spilling.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, I love Taco's training. We're going to do a 5K with a six-pack.
Yeah, that was fun. And apparently he was a former winner, but apparently got disqualified for, he didn't know that you can't get high before, during, and after the race.
Immediately after. Not necessarily after, but immediately after.
In all honesty, if you got high during and before, and you still won, you deserve to win, dude. If you're going to be in a race with a guy who's smoked out of his mind during the race, you deserve to lose. And if Taco won, then kudos to him. I'd give him 2 prizes if that's the case.
Well, remember, weed wasn't legal.
Oh, man.
Quite.
I'm just saying. I mean, I wouldn't.
Not in 2008.
I wouldn't call it a performance-enhancing drug either. But
No.
I guess that's maybe for a different show. Maybe for the UFC show that I do sometime during the month.
What did you think of beer push-ups and sit-ups? And
I loved it. I definitely knew ways to drink beer.
Are you inspired?
I'm inspired. I loved it. I love the fact that this is actually a thing, and even if it doesn't happen in real life, this episode might inspire maybe some things in Vegas where I know beer or alcohol is legal to drink on the street.
I think of nothing. It's gonna just inspire college frats and.
I mean, honestly, I never even heard of beer pong maybe until I was like 25.
What is wrong with?
I didn't. When I went to college, I didn't.
What college did you go to?
I went to Cal State Northridge.
Okay.
But I still lived at home. So I didn't have like the fraternity, or I didn't live on campus. It was like, oh, I woke up, went to school, and then I came home, you know? I should have had more of a college life, but I didn't, unfortunately.
You should have just slept over someone's house.
Yeah, I didn't really make that many friends, to be honest with you.
Are you okay?
I think I'm fine now. I mean, maybe at that time I was a little lonely. It's getting hot in here, actually. But yeah, I mean, looking back,
real talk.
Yeah, real talk. But looking back, I'm like, man, I never really lived the college life. Hence me not knowing what beer pong was until much later.
Or
even honestly, and that's true. Even flip cup, I didn't even know flip cup until like I was 27 or 28.
And then you came to AFTERBUZZ.
And then I came out and I learned all these things. At some party I was at, I'm like, wait, what are these games? These are awesome.
Yeah, we used to hold an annual neon pool party, and
I heard you're gonna have one next year because we didn't have one. I heard you're gonna have 2 next year because we didn't have one this year.
we're working on it.
I just heard. That's just what I heard.
I need to bring George up to education. We might have a party here at the new studio just to bring George up to speed.
We can play flip cup.
We'll play anything you need to.
Beer mile.
Yeah. Well, beer mile you don't play. You have to just do.
Oh, that's true.
Speaking of things that you can play, fantasy football. What a novel idea for a show like The League, right? Fantasy football. Now, here's the problem, right? We're going to get into the storyline of the night, which is Megan and Andre, and ultimately their relationship went to the crapper, pun intended, all because of fantasy football. The reason, not because of fantasy football, but because they had a season-long commitment, and you don't get to play around as much. And if you know, DraftKings is this phenomenal thing, an idea, where every week you get to pick a new lineup. So what? You know, one week you don't do so well because Megan picked a bad flex. Guess what, Andre? Next week you can use against her and be like, this time I'm picking. But you're not committed every single week for the entire season with the one lineup, and half of them suck, and so on and so forth. With DraftKings, every week is a new week for fantasy football. Give it a try. Go on there. George, you know what? He played with his flex this week. He only won $8. You know what? I told him, let me pick your lineup this time. So we're going to DraftKings, and I'm picking George's lineup this week. And guess what? Every week, there's a new millionaire crowned.
No joke. I actually did win this past weekend in DraftKings. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not reading anything. These are just the league notes. But no, I really did. And one of the reasons why I would not win more was because of my flex. I picked Kamar Aiken as my flex instead of maybe like someone like Gary Barnage or somebody who did really good. I mean, I did pick Gary Barnage this week for my flex, along with Tom Brady, because I think he's going to destroy the Colts, to be honest with you. But yeah, no joke. Like, I really did win DraftKings. It's back. It like literally like if the games ended on a Monday night, like an hour later, the money was already in my account.
There you go, just making money instantly with DraftKings. That's right. So give it a try, and you know what? Just use the promo code BUZZ, B-U-Z-Z, if you don't know how to spell that, and get your shot at $1 million starting this week. Why are you waiting? Now. It's the time.
Absolutely. And to kind of go back to what we're talking about, the beer mile. Now, comes a time where the beer mile is actually happening. And of course, we saw a nice little montage, kind of a la Rocky and all the sports movies we've all seen. No different this time, of course, with Taco. And obviously, you referenced it before. You saw with him training with homeless people. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a nice touch. And they all switched drinks, which I would never do with.
That's just part of the training.
Well, first off, I don't like to share to begin with, let alone switch off drinks. But
as long as you're getting the same amount, as long as you're not being gypped alcohol, I think you're okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually,
I think that's the main reason why people don't like to give their drink away.
That's actually a very good point that I'll take into consideration in my life. But actually comes the time for the beer mile. They're both trained. Taco's, of course, running with them. And apparently, I don't know why or how, but apparently Pete has I guess you can call it the Yobagoyas, as reference to previous episodes of the league.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, because Taco gave him what was supposed to be gluten-free pasta. Well, I didn't add any gluten to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. So God knows what Taco actually fed this. It fed him.
Yeah, but definitely it did not react well with Pete's system. And I know they referenced earlier in the episode that during the beer mile that Kevin and Jenny's house was going to be not too far off. So while he has the Yobagoys, he goes to Kevin and Jenny's house. I guess he didn't notice that they were actually there supporting him.
Well, because he took a different turn than when they're supposed to run. Here's the thing. Also, you got to take into consideration how they were training, when they were training, because if they trained the night before, beer shits is a real thing.
I know.
So he could be coming off of that.
Maybe. But obviously Kevin and Jenny not being home, Ernesto sees them. Good old Ernesto, amigo Ernesto, comes in and sees and catches Pete in the act of doing something that Kevin accused Ernesto of. And of course, Ernesto tackling him and Taco seeing him. I thought a funny part was like, guys, you don't have to roll around in it. And of course, the vision of it rolling around in it was just kind of like, okay, they went there, which they've done plenty of times before.
For an interesting visual on beer shits, read some of Bukowski's novels or poetry.
I sure will.
Because he says there's nothing like taking a wet, hot, stinking ass beer shit.
Thank God our TV's off. I think we'd have more graphics like we did last week. That's one graphic I don't want to see. But then Andre and Megan kind of come back together. I know that they started off as a couple in the beginning of the season, and we haven't seen them for a few episodes, but now they're back. Probably not back for good. No. They come in, and of course they're talking smack together, and kind of Jenny, I keep saying Jenny, Megan being the better smack talker than Andre, which is, I think it was kind of funny, especially with Megan being so anti-fantasy football in the early season, like episode 1, I believe it was. But of course, Andre and Megan, they did seem like a perfect couple.
For a while. There's always that one, as they call it, the deal breaker.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you even had Megan kind of talk to Jenny and have, as you would say, hashtag real talk on how, maybe Megan can convince Andre to have her have the, I guess you can say, final cut. And when it comes to
yeah, that's an interesting term. The other interesting term was, I want to wear your skin, Jenny.
Yeah, that was a weird line. But let me tell you something about final cut on the team. I think they should have emphasized it a little bit more on how important it is. Because every single Sunday, I wake up at 9:50, even if I have nothing to do that day, at 9:50 a.m., 10 minutes before the game starts, because I need to set my final lineup. I cannot function if I don't set my lineup. So knowing that someone else might have changed something, I would have been very upset. So I don't blame Andre for being upset.
But what do you think of Megan's argument of, you said we shouldn't argue about fantasy football again, and that means I have final cut, because if I don't have final cut, that means we're going to argue about fantasy football.
I mean, I don't even know.
The logic is there.
The logic is there. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't blame her, because that's probably something that I would say. I would use somebody's own words against them, not to be manipulative, but they said it. If you don't want to argue, then let's not argue. I'm just going to do it myself. But it turns out that while Andre, I think, was playing Brandon Cooks, Megan put in Mike Evans, and thus probably Andre losing for the week. And if there's one thing that I hate in fantasy football, is losing, which is why DraftKings is so great, because you're going to have a new lineup every week. But when you have a season-long commitment, having a better record than someone else or losing. It's just...
Well, let me ask this. What would have been funnier? And obviously this worked out perfectly for the breakup, but could have been where she tampered with the lineup and then he put his dude back in and then was like, wait, what? You know what I mean? I think they played it perfectly, but I'm just saying, to me, there's just that element of like, Andre was right, and I don't want Andre to be right.
Well, I mean, he was right in this scenario in terms of playing. Well, so you mean like, what if he played his guy, thus winning? I mean, it probably would have ended up the same. But yeah, I do like Andre in those kind of scenarios of trying to be, as they quoted in last season, Teflondre, trying to be the guy or the funny guy or the clever guy. So obviously we didn't see that because, he was in the kind of position where he lost. But yeah, either way, it would have been hilarious.
I mean, like I said, it was hilarious, and we're just clearly different people. When that line was set, and then you go to the wide shot, and they're both wearing a skirt and a leather jacket.
You picked up on it a lot more than me. I think I might have blinked and I missed it. But yeah, I did think that part was funny. Just even Andre's like, just the whole I guess a kilt. Was he wearing a kilt?
He was wearing a kilt.
Yeah. Typical Andre. He's got some form of fashion. But I guess that's officially broken up, Andre and Megan. It looks like that's over.
Looks like. Does that open the door for Pete?
Well,
does he want the door to be
like
open?
A full circle, though. Episode 1, they break up, and now last season.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Do you go that route?
I don't think they go that route because he did kind of reference of himself being the DraftKings of the group as just having a new person every week, even though he hasn't had a girlfriend in like 2 weeks since we saw that.
But you know
Libby.
what? In relationships, you can be the draft king, and then when you pick that perfect...
Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to make a reference.
Because no, because even so, you're thinking like, yes, DraftKings, you can have a different lineup every week, but if you get that one lineup that gets you $1 million,
then you're set.
Yeah. Freaking Phil, you're freaking right.
Man, I don't know. So we'll see.
I mean, I can't wait till next week's episode. I mean, I'm kind of curious if they are going to follow up with the whole Megan thing. I mean, we've seen when Andre gets out of relationships, he does kind of sulk over them for an episode or two, as we've seen in the past with and the chick from Glee. I forgot her name.
Certainly not Leah Michelle.
No. The teacher. The teacher. God, I forgot the name.
The redhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know
the one that was allergic to his semen.
Dear Lord.
So we've seen Andre being that guy. Of course, Pete and everyone else just being normal. Yeah, can't wait till next week.
Great.
And I'll tell you about the money that I won on DraftKings for next week.
Hopefully it's $1 million.
Hopefully it's $1 million. No joke, seriously. If it's $1 million, I'm bringing pizza for everyone. You can quote me on that. You can quote me. If I win $1 million on DraftKings, pizza and cupcakes.
For all of our fans. So that's right. Tell a friend right now to start watching this after show. The more people we get, the bigger the pizza party. Because anyway, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, where can we find you, Phil?
Here at AFTERBUZZ TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and catch some of the other shows here that I do. Public Morals, coming up on the final 2 episodes.
Ooh, I'm excited for that one. And you can find me at Hermoza, that's GHERMOZA, on Twitter and on Instagram. You can find me on the WWE after shows, the UFC after shows, just all around the league. We all have a good time here. Thank you so much for watching, listening to us on iTunes, watching us on YouTube. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.